Hey, welcome back to another wonderful edition of Opera with a Side of Fries. I am one of your hosts. I'm Oren. I am joined again with my lovely colleagues,
Carl Tanner
and Frank Basilio. And we have a special guest here today that we think many of you are going to remember. Anybody that was born in the 50s, 60s, and 70s grew up with this guy as just a household name and a household face. He's been on incredible shows like General Hospital, those TV series like Green Acres, Adam 12, Wonderful World of Disney.
Bewitched.
Bewitched. He had his own. He was one of the stars in a long-running series called Family Affair. He did several movies. I think as a child star, we all wanted to be this guy. He was probably the inspiration behind, George Clooney and Brad Pitt, because he was just that kind of a face, right? And he kissed some of the leading ladies of today. So with no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, our dear friend and colleague, Johnny Whitaker.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome, Johnny.
Thank you.
Welcome,
no genuflection necessary.
Johnny, you've been around a long time, and you don't look a day over 150. No,
he looks the best of all of us here.
He really does.
He really does.
Well, all I'll say is Frank and I go back a very long time, and you didn't even mention Tom Sawyer in my introduction.
No, because I want to mention your movies. I want to talk. When I said some great movies, we'll get into those.
Okay. Well,
the movie Tom, absolutely.
That your dear Celeste, my Aunt Polly, but I guess you have your own way of doing it, and that's okay.
You are so right. Johnny Whitaker, listen, Johnny was in a great film, and Johnny, even before Tom Sawyer, one of my favorite films that you ever did was The Littlest Angel. Okay, do you all remember The Littlest Angel? Any kid that went to church, that was like a standard that we had to watch. It was such a great family-hearted film where this kid actually goes to heaven and presents a gift before God of his little box of collectibles. Do you keep that box, by the way?
I had it up until about 20 years ago.
Oh, my gosh.
Did you pawn it?
I still, actually, if you go to the Hollywood Museum in downtown Hollywood, California, on Highland, right off of Hollywood Boulevard, you can see the tunic that I wore in The Littlest Angel.
It's about this big, isn't it, Johnny?
A little bigger than that. But there's a picture of me in my tunic picking up this lost lamb and showing some beautiful leg of this 8-year-old boy. And it was a poster for NAMBLA.
Oh, wow.
Aren't you a member, Frank?
Am I a member?
Yes, Frank is an honorary member.
He's an honorary member. I think they may be one of our sponsors, aren't they, Frank? They're very proud of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyway, and also, when Jeff East and I showed our bare butts in the movie Tom Sawyer, we got another honorable mention by NAMBLA.
Oh my God,
that's hilarious.
Can I just throw this out there? My nephew. Do you know the television show Young Sheldon?
Yes.
Okay, that's my nephew, and we're trying to get him on. And after this conversation,
that's not going to happen.
He's not coming on.
I think his representatives are going to nix that idea quickly.
I talked to his mom last night, and she said, "Oh my God, I love your podcast." And I said, "Well, how about?" She goes, "Well, I got to talk to CBS and talk to the press and see what they say." And I'm like, "Okay, well, don't listen to the podcast then." We'll probably not post this podcast until after he comes on.
Okay, that sounds good. Good. No, I'm just telling it like it is. I mean,
sure.
Sorry,
Johnny. How did you get started? I mean, you've been in this since 1965, right? That's when
you started at the age of 3. Is that correct?
Yes, 1963. At 3 years old. Well, first of all, you all are opera fans and music lovers.
You're a big music guy. Listen, Johnny's a big singer. He's got a hell of a voice.
I've got it. I've got some chops. Let's just put it that way.
Perfect.
However, when I'm number 5 of 8 children.
Wow.
And my mother and father got married right after 1951. And Dad and Mom moved to California with the GI Bill and all of that. And but my father comes from a long line of beautiful Irish, English tenors and baritones. All of my uncles and my aunts on my father's side sing beautifully. And my mother's family sings well, but not as much as my father's side. So my father told my mother that if her children didn't come out singing a perfect C, crying it, they weren't his
Pushed
kids.
them back in.
Check the milkman.
All of us came out crying a perfect C.
Perfect.
But
I
Carl,
haven't
you
ever
could
had a
learn a thing or
perfect
two from
C.
that, right, Carl?
Yeah, I've always strived to have a perfect C.
That's right.
I'm the only tenor here, so.
oh, okay, well, that's okay. I'm not mad at you.
Yeah, that's right.
We are. It's
and
okay.
baritone.
I'm definitely baritone bass.
Yeah.
And if I hit squoze hard enough, I can get some higher notes. But
So how'd you get into it 3? What I mean, just
well,
did your mom push it, Dad push it?
no,
What was
no,
the
no,
deal?
no, no. It was actually musical. You see, in the Mormon faith, twice a year they have a instead of a regular sermon or regular service, they have it dedicated to the children, and the children get up and sing the new songs and perform and do a beautiful presentation. And my mother was in charge of the music that year in 1963. And the little girl who was supposed to sing the lead for the music of I Am a Child of God, which is the name of the song, she got the chicken pox. And so she couldn't sing come Sunday morning.
Chicken pox.
Yeah, Johnny just.
I had it in for her.
That's right. At 3, he was plotting.
Exactly.
Nancy Kerrigan chicken pox.
But what I did was I was the only other kid in the primary class that knew the words to the song. So my sisters would be singing the chorus in harmony, and the young girl would be singing the verses and then join in with the chorus. Well, again, I was the only other child because I'd been working with my sisters as the understudy, I guess. And so that Sunday, I had to get up on the pulpit with the rest of the kids. And then with this song, with my sisters singing the chorus, I sang the first verse beautifully, perfectly. And my sisters and I then sang the chorus. Then it came up to the second verse. And I forgot the words.
Okay.
So
You had an excuse. You were
So
3.
wait a minute.
That's happened to me many times.
Listen, we've all sung in church, but not ended up in Hollywood. How did it go from forgetting the
well,
verse
I
to
mean,
end up
I
in Hollywood?
looked out at this audience and people looking at me and the pianist giving me the intro again. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do? So I made up the words.
That's what I've done.
And my sisters are, elbowing me, saying, that's not right. And I just shut up, just let me sing, and just we'll go on to the. And so the congregation was in stitches watching this happen. And then we sang the third verse perfectly. And, in the Mormon faith, you do not applaud, but you can laugh and you can appreciate it. Anyway, so there happened to be in the congregation, well, actually in my congregation in Pacoima, it was called the Pacoima Ward, which is
That's LA,
just
then.
the name, is the more of the congregation name.
Mhm.
The Osmonds were in my ward.
No kidding.
And yeah, however, it was not Sister Osmond. There was another member of the congregation whose son had done a couple commercials.
I always had a
Is
little
this
crush
Donnie?
on
Donnie Marie? This is Donnie.
Donnie and Marie Osmond,
Yeah.
and the Osmond brothers had moved to California, bought a home, and they were on the Dick
Cavett show.
Dick Cavett show.
no, on
Dick Van Dyke.
Oh.
Not Dick Van
Van
Dyke.
Dyke.
I don't know.
You're too young.
We're talking about Dick. I don't.
Speaking of Dick, you don't have Donny Osmond's number, do you?
I do.
Oh, Carl, you'll talk to him
Really?
after the show.
Well,
That's
we'll just
right.
after the show we'll chat. I'll chat you
I'll
up.
call him.
Sure.
So
No, but anyway, so that's how it started. The
When
woman
he
who
saw
said had
you
done a couple
perform?
commercials asked my mom to take me to see an agent, and I did, and got my first job the first day.
I have a question.
wow, what was that job? That
It was a Chevrolet OK used car commercial.
Oh wow! Did you have to sing that "See the USA" in your Chevrolet?
No,
My wife did that. You know, Celeste was in a national, I guess, campaign where all the celebrities had to sing that song, and I have the sheet music over here of
Do you know
"See the
who also?
USA."
Do you know who also sang that? Cheryl Milnes until he switched over to Toyota. I have a question.
Cool.
sure.
When do you mind me asking? So, how old were you when you did that first commercial?
I was 3.5.
Wow.
That
now,
matters.
when did you get the? Did you audition, or did they see you and just give you the job for Family Affair?
Well, I had done quite a few commercials.
You had a great face for it. I mean, just honest.
And-
and I have to say, the hair was, I mean, that was the calling card, right?
You were
That
like
was
the
that-
cutest
absolutely.
kid on the
That
planet, Johnny. I mean,
red-headed-
seriously. You even still look like yourself, John. That's
Well,
amazing. You really
thank
just
you.
dye your hair red.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
could be
Yeah.
free again.
Yeah.
Well, because of COVID-19, I haven't been able to get out,
Yeah.
Don't.
dye my hair.
Usually you do walk around with a red-headed afro. Is that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
No, well, Frank and I saw each other earlier this morning when we were preparing, and we both had
Morning hair.
bedhead.
It wasn't pretty.
Oh,
Wasn't pretty.
oh! Now that you brought this up, Warren, please share with us.
No.
Come on.
The Jufro is under
Oh,
control under here.
It's amazing.
Oh, okay.
Johnny and I actually we toured through Portugal a couple of years ago, working on a little documentary and stuff, and we saw each other many a morning at our worst. So I
I was
think
gonna say,
today
if
it
my
looks
hair
pretty
was red and styled and coiffed nicely, I might be able to pass for Johnny Whitaker back in the 70s, 70s.
So I have a question, another question. I'm going to get back to asking you about when you made a guest appearance on Bewitched, my favorite show. Well, I'm not making this up. Family Affair and Bewitched were my two favorite shows. That and I Love Lucy, those three. So you couldn't
I think
tell
they
I
were
was
all
gay
of
from
ours.
you couldn't tell I was gay from watching
Ah,
those, could you?
Listen, I like those, Carl, and I'm not gay. I think they
Well,
were just
I don't
great
know.
You know what?
man. I
Let
love
me
those
tell you.
shows. They were my
Let me tell you
favorites, too.
why. Because
So
there was a cute boy I had a crush on in Family Affair. There was a cute boy I had a crush on, and I had a crush on Little Ricky, and I had a
Mr.
crush.
French.
Yeah, Mr. French. But when you guest starred on Bewitched, what was it like for you? I mean, when you were on there.
Well, I'm just going to go back to
see the
answer your
wires?
last question first,
Yes.
only because, so I had done a lot of commercials and little bits, and I had done General Hospital. I played the original Scotty Baldwin.
Oh wow.
And
For
but
that,
anyway,
you ladies and gentlemen, that's Alec Baldwin's father. Go on.
Yeah, 1965.
And then I was on a little movie by Norman Jewison called "The Russians Are Coming, The Russians Are Coming."
Remember that? Yeah.
And
Are they making a remake of that nowadays?
I don't know.
They've come and gone.
They've come already.
That's right.
They'll be back in 2020 for the
That's
election.
right. That's right. So,
Sorry.
But
we're trying not to be
That's
political
okay.
these days, Johnny.
that's okay. Believe me, it's I'm staying up late at night trying to share my position without being demonized. But anyway, so Brian Keith was one of the stars of that show.
That's the father. I played your uncle. in
Exactly.
Family.
Brian Keith played Uncle Bill.
He made everybody want to have a gentleman's gentleman and be an architect or engineer. This guy was like a man's man.
Yeah,
in the
he was
19-
a
yeah.
nice man,
I mean,
big guy, big tough guy.
God,
How tall
yeah.
was he? Do you remember how tall he was?
Well, he was 6'1", maybe. I don't think
Yeah.
he was
I
over.
guess I was little. He looked
He was
like
strong,
a huge guy.
quiet type with broad shoulders. I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
he
but
just-
his shoulders were,
Yeah.
you know.
yeah, he reminded me of my dad, quite frankly, with red hair.
Well, blondish
Yeah,
hair,
Yeah.
blondish red. But anyway, so Brian Keith came to our motel room door in Fort Bragg, California,
With Nambla? Go on, I'm sorry.
knocking on the door. And of course, my mother, who was my guardian and my mom at the time, sees this beautiful, tall, gorgeous man,
yeah.
famous actor, knocking at the door, and my mother goes, "Hello, Mr. Keith." And Brian says, "Can Johnny Whitaker come out to play?"
Oh my.
And so she said yes. And so Brian and I went out, and he had a ball and a mitt for me, and he had a mitt for himself, and he taught me how to throw a baseball. And so for
And
the
this was
rest of that
3?
month, I was 5,
Okay.
4.5, 5. And anyway, so we became fast friends. And when it came time for Family Affair, that he had been prepping for while he was on The Russians Are Coming, he had requested that Johnny Whitaker come and do at least something in the series.
A screen test, even? I mean,
But
it's
they wanted me to screen test, but at the time, the script was written for a 6-year-old girl, her 10-year-old brother,
this is Buffy,
and their 16-year-old sister.
and that was Sissy, the
Correct.
character Sissy, right?
Correct. Played by Kathy Garver. And
You still know, I understand. You're in touch with.
well, the two of us are the only surviving members of the show.
I got to tell you, when your co-star in that passed away, we were like in junior high. It was 1976, I think, 77.
Exactly.
It was devastating because we all loved her just like we loved you, you know.
Yeah.
So if you want to talk about that, maybe, but if you don't, we'll understand.
No problem. But anyway, so when I came for the screen test, I was the only 6-year-old boy there. And they decided to have me screen test with some of these little girls. And I remember Anissa and Pamela Ferdin, who is the voice of Lucy and Charlotte's Web and tons of other things that Pamela has done. But when they saw Anissa and I, you know, next to each other, the producers said, "We've got Buffy and Jody."
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And,
Twin brothers, sisters.
So they canceled the contract for any of the 10-year-olds and made it 6-year-old twins.
You're just knocking them off right from the beginning, right?
Well,
Can I make a? Sorry.
sure.
I was going to make an observation. You know, this is the first time I've ever met you, Johnny, and I want to say, from what I know about child stars and growing up in Hollywood and everything, you seem way too normal. You really do. So I want to know.
What did you do?
Therapy.
Was it a lot of therapy? No, was it a lot of therapy? Was it that your mother was really there? I mean, what was it? I mean, growing up, because you really seem like a very well-adjusted individual.
I work hard at it.
Okay. I mean, besides being friends with Frank, I mean, that I won't hold against you.
Hey, that's okay.
Yeah. You have a pass there.
That's the reason for the therapy.
No, I take it from my family. I mean, although I was chattel to my parents and basically a slave, one who works and does not get paid for the work that they do.
That's often the case of child actors in Hollywood.
Well,
They
in the state of California, that was the case up until the year 2000.
Right.
And I don't blame my parents. I say that they were unaware or just not really thinking right. I mean, I don't throw my parents under the bus.
They have seven mouths
did they just feel it was your contribution to the family? Is that what they thought?
Yeah.
To a certain extent, yes. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But
I mean, did you always feel like that this is something I want to do and I'm glad I'm doing it?
My mother always would come to me before any film and say, this is for you, do you want it? And I always said yes. I was never opposed to it. I always was excited to go onto the set. I mean, I still am today. Yeah. I love performing. I love.
Was it ever work for you?
No, it's never been a job. It's always been. I'm happy I got paid for it, but now back to your second question.
Yeah, sorry, we bombarded you there.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm trying to keep it here, and then we'll go in order. But
it's amazing that you still can't keep it there.
Well, I've got pre-onset Alzheimer's, so I have to keep things in.
You're doing great, brother.
However, Elizabeth Montgomery, along
God, I had a
with
huge crush.
Yeah, me too.
Anne Margaret and Elizabeth Montgomery were just two beautiful women that I would do anything to meet and get to know them, like most young men my age at that time.
Sure.
When my agent, Mary Grady, said, we've got a part for you on Bewitched, do you want to do it? And I said, what, when, how, where, how do I do it? So I was extremely starstruck. And by this time, 1969, I think, or I think it was about 1969, I'm one of the top stars on television.
Yeah, sure.
And, I got to do this role. But it was just, my heart was beating fast, and it was like, gosh. And then I found out how the magic was made, and I have to keep quiet.
Yeah, don't ruin that for the rest of us. Yeah.
But it was just really, really a wonderful experience.
You can tell me later when you give me Donny Osmond's number. Go on.
For sure. And Tabitha, or Erin Murphy, and myself are good friends to this day.
Yeah, but she was much younger than you, right? I mean, she's a kid.
Well, yeah, she was. I was 9 and she was 6.
Okay.
Or 7.
Yeah, not much.
But
and they call it puppy love.
She was in love with me. She did say that.
Sure.
She has,
what was the neighbor's name? Mrs.
Kravitz?
Huh?
Kravitz?
Yes, I couldn't stand her. I wanted to smack her. I don't know why I don't know why that Tabitha or someone just didn't make her disappear.
Good question.
She drove me crazy. Anyway.
And they had a couple of different Darrens. So
They just sold that house.
Yeah.
They just
Really?
sold the house. I have a friend of mine, Kate Flannery, who was on The Office, and she sent me a picture of her standing in front of the house, and she said it just sold.
Wow.
Anyway.
Okay. So you did that. Was it one episode that you did?
Yeah, I just did
Which
one
was
episode.
What'd you have
It was
to do?
called Samantha and the Beanstalk. I played Jack in the Beanstalk, and Tabitha wanted to know what it was like because I was the last episode before Samantha gave birth to the son.
Oh.
And so, but Tabitha wanted to know what it was going to be like to have a brother. And so she wiggled me into existence from the from a Jack and the Beanstalk storybook.
Wow.
Frank,
Cool.
you guys are going to ask some questions about Tom Sawyer and everything. I want to get to.
You also weren't you going to ask about some of the famous on-screen kisses that Mr. Whitaker has had over the years?
His very first kiss was with a young lady who I met in 2003, Johnny. She was wearing a baseball cap. I didn't even recognize her. She was kicking me. We were sitting next to each other in a theater. She kept kicking me. I kept thinking, I'm going to tell this guy to stop this. And then when we had an intermission, we were watching a reading of All About Eve, and there was, I think, Kirk Douglas was playing the old actor and stuff like this. So
wait, his first on-screen kiss was with Kirk Douglas?
No, but
Michael.
The guy, which I thought was a guy beside me, but listen, I think this is one of the most beautiful women and talented artists and talented creative souls ever on the planet. So much respect to this person. But they kept kicking me, and they were dressed down, so I didn't look at them. So, and they had a baseball cap, and then at intermission, this person leans over me because my wife, Celeste Holm, was sitting on my left, and the person
Who was your wife?
So yeah, right. So she played Johnny's aunt in the movie Tom Sawyer, and this young lady leans over me and looks at Celeste. She goes, Miss Holm, you may not remember me, but I did my very first movie with you. And my wife looked back and leaned back, and she said, "Oh, Jody, of course I remember."
I was going to say yes, Miss
Exactly.
Foster. That's what I was referring to as. I know it was her first on-screen kiss was with.
I think it
you.
was Johnny's too, wasn't it? Johnny?
Oh, it was Jodie Foster?
Jodie Foster. Yes,
brother.
Really?
we were kind of beating around the bush there, but it was
I
Jodie
love Jodie.
Foster.
No,
I'm not
but
I love Jodie.
I
Do you have her number as well, Johnny?
Yeah, I'd like her number, quite frankly. Yeah.
Can we get her number?
Unfortunately, guys, she wouldn't like you calling her.
Hey, I think we'd have a great conversation.
well, let's just say this.
I'll sing to her any day.
I was starring in her first film, which was actually a Disney film and not Tom Sawyer.
There's the poster behind
Her
me.
first, that's the Tom Sawyer. But the first film that she did was called Napoleon and Samantha, which was with Michael Douglas, Jodie Foster, myself, Will Geer, Vito Scotti, and Jodie and I took a lion from somewhere in Oregon up the mountains to meet with Michael Douglas. And anyway, it was a pretty good movie. It was filmed in 1971, came out in 72. And then, interestingly enough, as I said, that my parents always gave me the opportunity to decide what I was and wasn't going to do. My agent, again, Mary Grady, had told the directors and producers for Tom Sawyer that you're going to look around all over the country, but you're not going to find a Tom Sawyer better than my Johnny Whitaker. And they just said that Johnny Whitaker is not the right one for Tom Sawyer. He is, too cute. He's, just too whatever. So, we're not going to even consider him. And my agent continued to say, You can go all over the country, all over the world, but you're never going to find somebody better than Johnny Whitaker.
Say, does she represent opera singers as well? Because she
Yeah.
sounds
need her.
Amazing.
We
Oh,
need
she's
her.
great. Well, she's now 95 years old.
Hey, if she's still making the calls, I like it.
That's right.
No, she's chosen to just celebrate her own life now.
Yeah, of course.
Well, she'd have to open up an opera company first, then get us a job in it.
But so, unbeknownst to me, my parents and my agent had worked for me to get on one of the last screen tests for Tom Sawyer. And I asked Mom and Dad when this film was going to start, and they said, like June 15th or whatever the date was, I'm not sure. I said, well, I can't do that. I just paid $300 to go to Boy Scout camp, and I am not going to miss Boy Scout camp. And my parents had told me that they were not going to give me the $300 for Boy Scout camp, but I had to earn it by, like the other boys in the troop did, by selling greeting cards. So I went door to door earlier in the spring and made my $300 like all the other boys did. And so I worked hard, and I said, I'm going to Boy Scout camp. I paid for it. I did the hard work. And unfortunately,
you didn't make $300 doing movies and TVs at that point.
Okay, but I have a question for you.
I mean,
So here's
wait,
Johnny Whitaker,
Okay.
national TV star,
yeah, they didn't have $300 to go to Boy Scout.
walking around neighborhoods trying to raise money. Was it what you were known then, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How did that happen?
When you
Johnny?
knocked on doors, would people open the door and go, "Holy crap, it's Johnny Whitaker"? Yeah,
I sold a lot of greeting cards.
I bet you did, didn't you?
But I'm surprised you had to. I don't understand why you even had to, Johnny.
Well, he just explained to you his parents would not give him the money, and he was dead set on becoming a Boy Scout.
Right. And my parents wanted me to get the money the same way the other boys did.
You had to.
See, now that's a different era to let just any child,
Yeah, they
not
don't
just
teach you
any
that
child,
today.
but a famous child walk around the neighborhood or any neighborhood by themselves now. It's a different time now.
But it also,
I mean,
I also
I have
say,
a little cute, very cute 11-year-old boy, child. And do I have a picture? Let me see. if I
It
have a
teaches you
picture.
the value.
Look
of
at that guy.
Johnny. Oh, he's great. Look at that.
Very good looking.
He's
Yeah,
handsome.
he's a handsome boy. And I won't let him walk down the street by himself. I'm just paranoid.
Yeah, but they taught Johnny the value of $1 that way, I guess.
No,
Yeah.
and I mean, again, I understand, but what happened is now here I am. I do the screen test, and they're offering me the job. And I say, sorry, but I'm going to Boy Scout camp. I'm not going to be your Tom Sawyer. And they go, what? I said, no, I'm going to Boy Scout camp.
Did you know Celeste was going to be your aunt at the time?
I had
Did you know
no
the
idea.
cast? No idea? Okay.
But I did know that Jody was going to be Becky Thatcher. And I did know that Jeff East was going to be Huckleberry Finn, because the three of us had done our screen test together.
Frank,
However,
sorry to interrupt. I don't want to interrupt, but Frank, can you hold your camera up to the picture of Tom Sawyer and show us?
I'd be
Can you
happy.
get close
Yeah, hold on.
so
Let
we
me
can
do
actually see the characters?
this. Let me
we go.
unplug this power thing.
And for those of you who are only listening to this,
Can you see that there? Let me see here.
it is,
There we go. Yeah, there we go. A little bit there.
I'm the one with the Jewfro.
I love it.
Can you see that?
I gotta say-
there? That's Johnny and my wife in the middle, right? Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's fantastic.
cool.
It's,
For some reason,
well,
I got Carl on my camera. Here we go.
so when my parents took me to the side and said, Johnny, you don't understand. You're going to make $18,000, not just $300. Look at the difference between $18,000 and $300. And I said, I made that money myself.
Exactly.
I worked for that, and I'm going to do that. So the production company did 2 days without Tom Sawyer.
Yeah, they
and
could
I
do that.
came in on the third day of
So
production.
you actually got your way. You got to go. Good for you. I like
Yeah.
that story.
Yeah,
I like
That's
that story.
You're a dedicated Boy Scout, brother.
Hey, but I think the moral to that story is kids have to be kids. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
I
And
mean,
I think that's one of the things that was very important to my parents,
yeah,
that I was one of 8 kids in a family. And although I may have been lauded and cheered and applauded and, genuflected to in certain areas, when I got home, I was just one of the 8. And I think that's probably one of the most important things. But unfortunately, it did kind of backfire on them. And then I was very embarrassed when a big um, limousine came to pick me up
That's Boy
at
Scout camp.
the Boy Scout camp.
Gee.
I wouldn't have been
They-
embarrassed. I would have said, "I
Oh,
gotta
That's because
go,
you're a tenor,
bitches."
Carl. That's because you're that tenor. He would have been like, "Where's my limo?"
I would have
That's
said,
right.
"I gotta go,
Would have asked
bitches.
for
You
it.
guys have a good time climbing trees."
Yeah, well, yeah, that just wasn't me at the time. But
That's the
no,
Hollywood Boy Scout group.
yeah. Later on, Jodie Foster and I were able to, and actually in the screen test, our screen test was kissing each other.
Hmm. Did you
So
do a lot of take? A lot, you practiced that a lot, right?
we did practice it.
Yeah.
And off the set, Jeff East, myself, and some of the local kids and some of the local girls, Jody and oh gosh, I should remember her name, who played Cousin Mary. Joshua Lewis, we didn't like him that much, who played Cousin Sydney, was not there. But Jody, this other girl who played Cousin Mary, and some of the other girls, and Jeff, myself, and some of the other guys, we played Spin the Bottle.
Oh.
Okay.
And Jody was there, but a little uncomfortable. I mean, again, I was 12 and she was 10.
Do they even play that anymore? It's like spin the iPad now or something.
I don't know. No, it's I won't even mention what it might be today.
That's so old fashioned.
But all the guys wanted to kiss Gina, and Gina was the prop master's daughter. And
You know what they say about prop masters' daughters? No,
well, she was the only one with boobs.
Oh well.
Well, that's what they say.
That's what they say. Yeah, they're the only ones with boobs.
That's right.
And so, all of us were hoping to get kissed by her. But
And she was what, 14?
yeah.
Well, speaking of kissing girls, I don't mean to be a little biased, but I would like to know, Johnny, what was it like working with my wife?
Well, I never kissed her.
I bet. And she never played Spin the Bottle.
I was going to say she was at Spin the Bottle.
No.
And she wasn't a champagne kind of lady.
No.
I mean, she loved champagne, but my wife and I shared a beer and Coke and everything else,
No, she was a wonderful lady, and interestingly, the film Tom Sawyer was a musical, written music and lyrics and script written by the Sherman brothers, Richard and Robert Sherman, who are very well known as Disney, and also Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and Charlotte's Web, all the rest of them. Anyway, our director, Don Taylor, was his thought was that all of the music was kind of in our heads, and so it wasn't big production numbers. It was mostly just going on. And I remember being there in the room when Celeste sang her song, which was the Tom Sawyer soliloquy.
Oh, yeah.
And Don Taylor just wanted, you heard the music in the background, and she had asked that I be there. And so I'm very happy to be there. It was late at night, And
You know why she asked?
well, she wanted that to be a little bit more of that she could kind of feel me and see me off camera.
Connection, yeah.
And
well, that and he
have
was
that
also her
connection.
favorite one from Spin the Bottle. So
That's right.
But I remember that
She loved that interplay with people. She really did.
And she and Don had a very separate idea of her last words to the song, which is, God, please please spare him, and God, take care of my Tom. And she wanted to sing it out loud as Aunt Polly's prayer.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, Don Taylor wanted her just to keep it.
And think it and hear it as a voiceover.
However, they did they did a couple of takes, but I do remember that she got her way in one of the takes. And so that, the director or the editor could make that decision when it came. But I just thought I was crying off camera as I saw her singing and touching my bedroom door.
I bet she was crying on camera when she,
she
had that
beautifully.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
That's a different song than the one where she's saying Tom Sawyer will be the death of me yet.
Right.
Listen, before we run out of time, sorry, Carl, do you want to say something? Because I was going to say before
I just said we're on a time crunch, but
what?
I want to ask one question.
And I have one question.
I'll ask after Warren.
Okay.
But I want to have you back because there's so many more things I want to ask you. Would you come back on?
Absolutely.
After this experience, he has to think about it.
Johnny has been
I don't know.
Huge
Nambla?
Well, so I read
for great causes, and I want to make sure you get that in there, Johnny. I mean, your life has really gone on to matter for some pretty big things, and I just think that's wonderful.
Okay, we'll get to it.
I read, and tell me if this is correct, that you were an agent for a while, and one of your actresses that you worked with was one of my favorites, was the lovely Dana Plato, who is no longer with us. So I just wanted to know what it was like, what she was like personally, and working with her. I know she went through a lot. I don't know what part of her career you worked with her on, but I definitely, growing up in that age, she was somebody that I had a crush on.
Oh yeah, she was the one with boobs.
Oh.
There's a theme here.
The question is, that movie she made, the Real Different Strokes, or Different Strokes, the movie? Were you responsible for that movie?
No.
Oh, okay. If you haven't seen it, I recommend people watch that movie.
Okay. I'll put that on my list.
Johnny? Oh, you haven't seen it? Yeah, you've seen it. Okay.
But no, Dana, there was a request on the agent lines of communication going out to the management of Dana Plato. They wanted her for, somebody was looking for her. Anyway, I had called a couple of people who had her number. I had her number at one time and lost it. So I called a couple of other people, spoke to her and asked her if she had representation. And she goes, well, not really. And I said, how would you like to be represented? And she goes, great. And I said, well, come on down, sign some papers. And then I let her know that Hollywood was looking for her.
Shrewd.
I'm a good agent. I don't tip you off until I got it signed and dated and all that.
Again, are you accepting opera singers on your roster?
Yeah.
But Dana came and was a little, and I was in early recovery from drugs and alcohol at that time. And she came to my office, and I could have sworn she was high. But I had understood that she had 10 years clean and sober, and she showed me her 10-year chip. And, I have no reason to disbelieve her.
Is that a prerequisite to be an agent in Hollywood?
What, to be on drugs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
seriously,
so
it's a big
we met a
story out
couple
there.
more times, and I got a couple of auditions for her besides the audition that she was signed up for. And she was going to go on a summer tour with a friend of mine who's a New York stage producer. And they were doing the New York stage play in New York.
Mhm.
And she was going to do the summer stock of that same play, going from town to town. And she had just purchased, or was planning at this time, before all the paperwork was done, to buy a Winnebago so that she and her son could save money. And instead of the per diem paying for the hotel, the per diem would pay for the gas in this big motorhome. That's also when she had her boyfriend, Mr. Menchaca, who took her last voice breaths and sold it for a couple $1,000.
What?
But
I don't think we know this story, John. Do you guys know that at all?
Well, this is something we may have to wait to.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
gonna
well,
have to
the
bring
next
that
time,
on next time.
But so you were with her at the end of her life.
I was there at the end.
It's so
wow.
I
Oh,
was
my
really
Lord.
tragic.
I had
Yeah.
I had the honor and privilege to facilitate her memorial here in Los Angeles.
Oh man, I take back my bad aside there about any drugs. I just we don't want to lose people to heart like that. That's what happened. Was that the contract that you had her sign? You were doing that job with her then, and you were pursuing
No. We were preparing the paperwork, and I told her it was a 90% sure that she was going to get this. So she took the money out and bought a Winnebago, thinking that she was going to go around the country.
Wow. Was that your only client as an agent?
Oh, no. She was the only adult client that I had, because I was managing children at the time.
Uh-oh.
But
Anybody we may know?
not really. Most of it was about 8 of the children who were background for The Grinch Who Stole Christmas were from my little stable.
Well, you also did Sigmund and the Sea Monster.
Correct.
Which was huge with kids. Right?
And one of my very dearest friends, Rip Taylor, hello,
Yes,
yeah.
fabulous.
was the Sea Genie, and up until his passing, we maintained a very close relationship.
Carl, you had one last question?
I did. I just want to ask you, we have a segment on the show called Stories from the Road, and we ask our guest to just tell us a quick, funny story that may be a little embarrassing or a little surprising or a little informative. If you can think of something that maybe no one knows or you care to share, that would be great. Just to send us off.
Sure. Here in Southern California, we had a theater in the Round, which was no longer there now. And I was asked to play Runyon Jones in the Odyssey of Runyon Jones. And it's kind of like a little far-fetched, but we all had the lavaliers on. And the one of the characters is Mother Nature, and Mother Nature, just before the intermission, she's talking with Runyon, and they're doing their scene, and Runyon runs off, and Mother Nature just says, "And now, if any of you have the desire to release what Mother Nature has given you, now is the time to do it."
That's a great question.
Anyway, so
I can see where this is going.
I went off stage, did not turn off my mic, and so the entire audience heard me.
Fabulous.
Beautiful.
And when I came back on stage, Mother Nature ad-libbed, did everything come out all right? And the audience just went crazy laughing.
Perfect story.
And the reason that I got almost a standing ovation after that was because I had no idea what had just happened.
Oh, yes.
How old were you?
I was 10 or 11.
It's fantastic.
That is fantastic.
And so
You just thought you had acted really, really well.
yeah, and when I gave her this nonplussed, strange look, because I didn't know what had happened, but the audience was in on the joke, they just fell over.
And then were you absolutely mortified when somebody told you after the show?
When I found out, I was crying. That's not fair. That's not nice. But 50 years later, I can laugh about it.
Absolutely. It took 50 years of therapy to get over it.
Johnny, we're going to have you back on, I promise. I want
Thank
to
you.
talk about the next segment of your life, but
Sure.
we have to shut things off. We have a 5 o'clock coming up here. And I want to thank you for coming on our show.
Thank
I'm
you,
a
Johnny.
huge
Yeah,
fan.
thank you, Johnny. We love you, buddy.
Now, listen, I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm performing, if they don't cancel the job, they've rescheduled it to do Othello in Orange County coming up next year. And I'd love to have you as my guest. And I'll come up and pick you up or whatever. Send
Send
car
the
for
limo.
you and
Send
you
the
come
limo,
down.
Carl.
Yeah.
I'll send a huge
Send the
limo.
limo.
Yep. And be a Boy
And,
Scout.
and then
leader.
I'll drive up so I can take that limo with you
Yeah, exactly.
and get,
Oh, I
be
thought you
seen
were
getting
driving.
out of the car with you. And they'll go, oh my God, who's that with Carl Tanner? So, hey, listen, I want to thank you for coming on, really.
Thank
Or
you.
who's that with Johnny Whitaker is what I was going to say. But anyway,
Oh, well, the only thing I want to make sure is that if anybody wants to know, you can go to johnnywhitaker.com, and also my nonprofit organization, which benefits addicts and alcoholics, prison reform, jail reform, is pasoporpaso.org. And
Wanna
that's
spell
step by
that
step
out?
in Spanish.
Oh,
Spell
so
that again, Johnny.
Okay.
Spell that again, Johnny.
Yeah.
That's Paso, PASOPORPASO.org.
Beautiful.
that's what I want to talk to you about next episode
Yeah,
with you.
because
I want to
Frank
talk to
and
you about
I-
how you learn Spanish.
Okay. And
it's Portuguese.
speak
And
5
Portuguese
languages.
and 5 languages.
Well, how? I mean, I know you're
But yeah,
intelligent,
because
but hell.
Frank and I are co-producing a documentary on the Portuguese drug policy.
Amazing. That's that's 2 episodes to talk about that, John. We'll have
But
to show
thank you
footage.
very much. God bless you all.
Thank you.
You
Thank
too,
you so
buddy.
much.
You too. Thank you for coming on. Everybody, that's been our
We'll talk
Honest
about the
show.
movie too,
Thank you for
John.
joining us.
Carl, do you want to mention our
look forward
website just in case anybody wants to send us any questions?
Yeah, our email is operawithfries@gmail.com. And we're going to
Ask
be
us any
posting-
questions, anything, and if we will read your name on the podcast, unless you specify you do not want your name mentioned. But we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Give us your feedback. We love it.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Thank you again, Johnny. God bless to you. Take care.
You too. Thank you.
Ciao.